So, after that, I ended up having to spend a little bit of time having a more in-depth discussion with my new electronic friend. I, of course, set the others up with some busy work. Danny going back to working on some blueprints for weaponry, while the doctor began looking over the schematics for the hardware installed on the motorcycle, and how all of the computer systems inside of it functioned, trying to streamline the work of both Danny and Al by finding the most efficient solutions for things like power transfer and the management of different tasks within the system, as well as finding out if there were any places that needed some upgrades, so to speak. After all, the motorcycle was going to be a split between me physically piloting it and automated programs controlling specific functions in response to my orders and commands, and now needing to accommodate for our new guest. As the conversation went on, she began to fill me in on some of the details of the process that I had undergone. According to her, the nanites were dispersed throughout my system, which was apparently necessary in order to get full-scale readings of my physiology. And I mean full-scale, to an insane degree. She could actually give a specific count for the number of muscle fibers in my body, right down to the number of cells I have. All of which was apparently necessary for the rest of the process to commence. After getting solid readings on everything, from the tips of my toes to the top of my head, the nanites began to gather and accumulate inside of my brain, setting up shop as it were, modifying function. This combination of activities was primarily focused on getting a specific layout for my entire nervous system and all of the signals that it sends off back and forth between my body and my brain. The nanites apparently needed to do this in order to effectively be able to interpret the signals sent back and forth and have effect on them. This is what my new electronic friend was talking about when she said that I could interact with my perceptions. She began giving me the breakdown. Basically, what it all amounted to was a full-scale upgrade on my brain, which was the primary focus of the process that I underwent. Some nanites stayed within my body, but only a very small amount, lodged themselves in specific parts, in chains and sequences. These nanites acted as locator beacons for my physical body. Basically, each small nanite would choose a location, like the tip of my toe, the bone inside of it, lodge themselves there, and then send a signal with specific data regarding their location and their position. By having countless nanites scattered across my body, all doing this and giving off specific information as to their location and the position of the limb or part of my body they were in, my new electronic friend could perfectly read any physical movement that I made, from flexing my finger all the way to doing a backflip. She had perfect and absolute awareness of every motion that I made, regardless of where I was, and a perfect understanding between the distance between us, my position relative to it, or her, or whatever I'm eventually going to end up calling it. The most important function being, of course, my brain. Most of the nanites went there after doing the initial passover of the rest of my body, getting the detailed scan information that they needed to accurately interpret any information sent to the brain. And that is where all the fun starts. Now, with these detailed scans of my entire physiology, I could now mentally control basically any aspect of my physical state and my body's functions, which sounds simple enough when you just say it, but in actuality is extraordinarily complex. It's just crazy to think about. For example, the first little test run that I did with trying to manipulate these physical things was with eyesight. Eyesight, like everything else, is simply a signal that's sent to your brain. Your brain interprets the information that your eyes pick up. It all essentially works on electronic signals, microscopic surges of energy. Now, with the completed scans, I could drastically alter the way that these things worked. For example, I could actually shut the signals off. My eyes would, of course, still see. I'm simply disconnecting the flow of information from my eyes to my brain. So, suddenly, everything is pitch black, and I'm unable to see anything. And that's just the absolute basic minimum. When I got right down to it, I could actually begin to filter out specific parts of the signal. For example, your eye sees by picking up light that bounces off objects, that flows in from all directions. Your eye picks up these wavelengths of light and then sends corresponding signals to your brain. These signals are interpreted and form the image that you see within your mind's eye. But different wavelengths of light send off different signals. So I could effectively cancel out different wavelengths of light at will, increase or decrease my photosensitivity. For example, you know that feeling when you're in a place that's well lit and the lights suddenly go out and it's dark? You can't really see anything, right? Well, at least normally. It actually takes some time for your eyes to adjust to the new level of ambient light in the room, after which you can actually start to pick things out, even if it's dark. As long as there's still some light, then your eyes can adjust and begin picking up what ambient light they can to form the images. Normally, this takes a little while to do, but with these new nanites, I can cut that duration to instantaneous. So even if I'm in a well-lit room and everything goes pitch black, unlike most people who are stuck waiting for their eyes to try to adjust so that they can try to see basically anything, I can actually force my body to adjust rapidly, almost instantaneously, forcing my pupils to open as wide as they possibly can, absorb as much light as possible, so that even in the deepest darkness, I can still see. And once again, this is just one example. I had read a lot of books on physiology and medicine, so I knew that all the information she was giving me was accurate. And after testing what she said could be done, it only proved it. Basically, the brain is the computer that runs your body. Like the hard drive on any computer, the quality of the hard drive affects the performance of the computer altogether. And my hard drive just got a massive upgrade. Apparently, I could even process information much faster. For example, most people often have trouble recalling memories that they need in order to fulfill a task. For instance, doing a math problem. Most people have to think about the math problem. Their brain generates an answer based on the previous knowledge that they've acquired about the topic. My brain now does that way faster and way more accurately. The nanites in my brain apparently formed what amounted to superstructures within my brain, facilitating the transfer of information across it, increasing my ability to recall even the most complex of information at the drop of a hat. It almost seemed effortless. And with the amount of books that I've read, that is an absolutely massive amount of information to have instant access to. Biology, chemistry, metallurgy, freaking rocket science. And with my brain's new ability to process information far more rapidly, doing literal rocket science was easy. All it took was to have the thought, and suddenly I was flooded with an endless series of information. I wanted to build a rocket, then my brain would suddenly spit out a solution for how to do it in tremendous detail.